So I'm here with Jim. He's founded Digital Anarchy. You might know them from Transcriptive, which I use a lot. Also, the rough cutter thing is rough cutter.
Well, it's transcriptive rough cutter, yeah. So it's all one and the same. Yeah.
Great update. Loved that.
Thank you.
And so he's going to run us through some of the new stuff that they've got at Digital Anarchy that looks pretty cool. But we have another demo. So
all right, all the demos.
Yeah.
All right. So the product that we're really talking about the most here is something called Data Storyteller. It's a data visualization plugin for After Effects, Premiere, Final Cut, Resolve. So it makes it just a lot easier to create data-driven graphics, in the NLE.
Bigger industry than people probably think.
There's a lot of people that I mean, it's like not everybody needs to do it all the time.
Right.
But like when you do it, there's really no great way of.
Unless you know After Effects.
Yeah, I mean, you can go in there and manually set up masks and expand solids and stuff like that.
Right.
But if you just have, someone just gives you an Excel or CSV file and you just want to animate that data, this will hopefully make it much easier for folks to do.
Sure.
There's a few different graph types in 1.0. We'll be expanding it, but for now, sports world maps. So you can plug in data that's associated with countries, and it'll assign color values to the countries based on the values of the spreadsheet. Same thing for the US map. In this case, it's showing counties, but you can show states, counties, zip codes, and hopefully we'll be adding congressional districts as well. Bar charts are another chart that we have in there. And of course, in this case, we're using both the bar chart and the global map to tell a story.
Sure.
And then you have scatter/bubble charts for doing, a little bit different data visualization, and then of course line charts.
Yeah. So how are you in? So obviously you said you could use like in a CSV or a data. What do you data table? What is that called?
Spreadsheet.
Spreadsheet. Yeah. I don't use them that often. So how are you importing it? How does it know zip code or anything like that?
So let's jump on over to, we'll grab this. And the way it works is there's kind of two components to it. There's a plugin component that you see in the NLE, and that controls most of the animation functions. And then for setting up the kind of look and feel of the graphic, you click on Setup. This opens up a custom window.
Oh, wow, okay.
And so now you can upload your data here. You select your chart type. There's a spreadsheet built into it, so you can see what your data looks like. You can select that data, set a variety of different functions. We can then come down to the rest of the UI. You can set up your colors, other spreadsheet options.
This is way more fully functional than I thought, or not fully functional, but way more features than I expected.
Yeah. No,
I thought you were going to put in a spreadsheet and you're like, and then it figures it out.
No. So there's a lot of customization to let the user set up what they want to see,
right,
or what they want it to look like. And it's a full-fledged charting application built into the NLEs, or After Effects. And so you have legends if you want that. You can turn those on or off. There's animation options, scale and position. In the case of the world map, this is where you would rotate the globe if you wanted that going on.
Right.
And all that stuff is, again, animatable with keyframes once you go back out to AE or Premiere or FCP or whatever. So yeah, it's not just a bunch of templates that you just plug a Excel file into and then you get what you get.
Right.
You have a lot of control over what you get.
So how are you, obviously you got that thing, for, in the instance where you showed two of the styles, how are you doing that?
So that'd be two layers. So
Okay,
that's the great thing about being, in the NLE is you can layer things on top of each other. You can do picture in picture. Like in the case of this, obviously the background can be transparent, so you can have video playing behind it.
Just using screen or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Well, no, I mean it'll generate a transparent background.
Oh, okay, perfect.
You just say
Of course it does.
yeah. I mean, you could use screen if you want to make it difficult for yourself,
Right,
but
right,
like you could just say transparent.
Listen, first interview of the day. I'm not. We'll get there.
And third day of the show, so we're all kind of like, oh, man.
We're all falling over.
So yeah, I mean, you can have just a solid color background, but then the beauty of being in a full-fledged editing app is you can drop this background out and stick whatever you want behind there. You can, scale it up. So if you have like an anchor talking about a story, we can scale this up and have it just like move to the, corner of the screen. So lots of different ways of hopefully telling stories with data in video.
Is your primary audience, do you think, like news, or do you know, or you just knew?
I don't really know. I mean, it's just like I dig data visualization. I think it's super cool. I mean, like you see a lot of stuff on the web. That is just really neat. The way they've taken like these large data, all this data that's out there now, right?
Right.
And I just think it's super cool. And there's just no great way of getting that type of stuff off of the web and into a video production.
Right.
It's just time-consuming and kind of a pain in the ass. So we're using D3, which is a JavaScript library for doing charts. That's kind of driving the back end, and using our expertise of getting shit,
You can use the fuck word. It's fine.
Okay. All right. Getting shit into NLEs and After Effects and all the apps.
Yeah.
And allowing you to kind of do some cool data viz with it.
Well, what's cool with Digital Anarchy, I've noticed, is there's not like and I mean this is a compliment, there's not like a unifying factor to the products. It does feel, correct me if I'm wrong, it does feel like you just kind of make what you think you
that's
need.
kind of that's kind of the way it works. I mean, like Flicker Free, our plugin for deflickering video, came about because I do a lot of time-lapse videography. And at the time, there wasn't a great way of deflickering. If you do sunrise, sunset, you have to leave the camera in semi-automatic mode. And the light meter is, great, but it's not perfect.
Right.
And so you get a little bit of fluctuation in the luminance values. And there wasn't a great way of fixing that. I'm like, oh wait, we make video software. We could probably do something about that.
Right.
And my co-founder, who used to develop software for ILM, was like, oh yeah, I did something like that back at ILM. I'm like, how did I not know that? Why do we not already have a plugin for this? So that's where it came from. That's where Flicker Free came from. And the data viz stuff is the same thing. It's like, I love it. I'm like, we have to do this.
Well, what's funny about the Flicker Free thing is I would have assumed it was you're using a lot of LED, but coming from time lapse is like, oh, yeah, that's almost more apparent.
Dude,
than
I had no idea that was the LED thing was a problem. It's like we started sending it out to beta testers. And it's like, oh hey, that's really cool. It fixed this like rolling band thing. I'm like, what's the rolling band thing?
That's amazing.
So it was kind of a happy accident, just like, and it came out right about the time the LEDs like were blowing up.
Right.
And so like it was, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or lucky and good, but yeah, I had no idea that was totally not what we. I'm like, well, there's probably enough of a market for time lapse that we can like fit this little niche, and then.
What's funny is I was doing this a corporate project, and every corporate person wants a time lapse. All of them. Can we get a time lapse and can we get a drone? Every time. Load them into this one guy. This guy's like, I fucking hate time lapses. Why are you doing this? And I was like, you what? It blew my mind. It was the only man I've ever heard. You also got Beauty Box, which I was wondering if you could touch on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, and the other thing we're talking about is we're coming out with Beauty Box 6. It's probably about 3 months away. We just got kind of the core tech working for the new features. Let's jump over to After Effects, where we're showing it. And so Beauty Box is, and we're having internet problems, so
we are all having internet problems.
So I've been unable to license Beauty Box on here, so we've got the beautiful crosshatch here is not part of the Beauty Box experience normally, at least if you pay for it. But anyways, so we're just making do here.
Sure.
But anyway, so traditionally in Beauty Box, it analyzes the footage for skin tones, build this automatic mask for skin tones, and you can see what that mask looks like. And since we're just looking at skin tones, it tracks those throughout the entire video clip. If she moves off camera or if something moves behind something, it doesn't matter because we're just like looking at skin tones.
Right, it's a key, not a mask.
Right. Yeah. And if it's if the lighting changes, then the skin tones are going to change, and then at that point you need to recalibrate it. But otherwise, it's good to go. So we have a couple new features that we're adding to it that use AI, of course, because what kind of tech company would we be if we're not doing something with AI? We're using it to improve the shine removal feature that we have, which is great, but it has a tendency of grabbing all the highlights in the image and bringing those down, not just the facial highlights. And so we're using AI to generate a face mask. And if you're doing if you're doing for V for Vendetta remake, then maybe we can help you out too. But in this case, we're just using it to prevent the shine removal from taking the highlights of the hat down. So if I just show our normal shine removal, you'll see the shine removal on her cheeks, but you'll also see the highlights in the hat.
Back here too as well.
Yeah, right. So as I turn that on and off, you can see the background and the hat get affected by it. So by using this facial mask, we can constrain it just to the face area, and that's the only area that's getting affected by the shine removal.
Well, and what's amazing is like, before you toggled that off, I was like, that's a fine looking image. And then when you toggle it, it's like, oh my God, it could be way better.
Right. Yeah, it can be better. Yeah. And so we're using AI to make it better. And then the other thing we're doing is using AI to generate a teeth mask.
Sure, yeah. That's another one you get a lot of requests for. Hey, my teeth look a little yellow.
This is something people have been asking for like since we released this, like 12 years ago or whenever we released it. And it's a really hard thing to mask because its teeth are white. Yeah. But AI, and you just throw, it's trained on the, it's trained to identify teeth, and it actually does a reasonably good job of it. And then, so what did I just do?
While you're figuring that, I'll give everyone a tip. If you're gonna, in photographs, video, if you're gonna de-yellow teeth, go into the colors and get rid of yellow. Don't desaturate. Desaturate looks weird and gross and gray. Learn that the hard way.
Good tip.
Or use this.
Yeah, use this. But anyway, so we build the teeth mask, and then you can come down here and set how much whitening.
Whitening slider. I love that.
Yep. Whitening amount, and it gets super weird if you do too much. But
no, that actually even cranked up, that looks relative.
Well, if I actually crank the brightness,
the brightness will go weird. Yeah, that looks weird. But even the whitening amount as just a general slider, even at 100, that looked like maybe a Colgate commercial, but it looked relatively natural.
Yeah, so anyway, so once we have the mask, you can dial in exactly what you want, a little bit of a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, that's kind of the way Beauty Box works. We build these masks and then let the editor kind of like dial in a few settings to kind of get the amount of skin smoothing they want, the amount of whitening they want. And
it's a valuable tool, because if you aren't a Resolve user and you can't punch out stuff from Premiere, or you don't have the time, you're a Premiere editor, something like that is super valuable, because the masking in Premiere at the moment, won't say anymore, isn't that robust.
That great.
So it's a good tool to have.
Yeah, and it's a good use of AI. I mean, we're not going to make your talent. We don't have the Kardashian filter that's just going to turn your talent into a Kardashian.
Right.
So we're not doing the generative AI stuff, but there are other ways to use it that are practical and useful. So.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for sharing with that.
Yeah, no problem, man.
I do a bunch of great stuff here, so I'm happy to meet you.
A bunch of random, plugins, but hopefully
they're all good. Yeah.